to Cyberspace. And today we're all here for a special reason, the Q&A. This man has one of the most... Can you all hear me? I know these guys. Thank you very much. And welcome to Cyberspace. And today we're all here for a special reason, the Q&A. This man has one of the most storied careers in all of professional wrestling.
I'm kissing his ass.
I'm not kissing his ass, I'm telling you the facts. He's held almost more regional titles than anybody in the business. He's been the three-time National Wrestling Alliance World Heavyweight Champion, and he is the current Cyberspace Heavyweight Champion of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, a big welcome. Let's all stand up and welcome him, Double J, Jarrett! Yes, show us that belt, Mr. Jarrett, the Cyberspace belt. How important, how many years have you been wrestling now, Jeff? 3 years, okay. Well, the 3 years plus you've been wrestling.
Is that why you're so green?
18 years. In the 18 years you've been wrestling, Jeff, here you are, the heavyweight champion of Cyberspace Wrestling Federation. Get a good look at this belt. How important is it for you to still have belts after 18 years?
You know, that's a sort of a weighted question. But in years past, in years past, the belt stood for a number of issues. But still today, when you carry the main belt, whether it be a world belt or whatever particular promotion you're working in, without a doubt, the company, that signifies that the company is putting a tremendous amount of confidence in your abilities. Whether it be in the ring, on the mic, drawing people to the house, they are putting a tremendous amount of confidence in your abilities. So, you know, that goes with the territory. But on the flip side of that, there's guys in this industry who have never worn belts, but that doesn't diminish their talent at all. So, but in my case, I still take pride in winning the title.
All right, let's go out to the audience and take the first question. First question. Sir, come on down over here. And your name and your question.
Scott. Hey, Jeff, how did it feel to lose to China and to have to go out of the WWF with a lady hit you with a frying pan? How'd you like that?
There he goes.
Welcome to Let's Try and Humiliate Jeff Jarrett, right here in Cyberspace.
Well, some people know the story, people some don't. But to be a part of a history-making event in an industry that I grew up in, I was pretty proud to be a part of that match for a number of reasons. Number one, it was the first national. Andy Kaufman did the male versus female years ago, what Willie knows a lot about. But on a national stage, Intercontinental title with China and the storyline that was involved in that. I was proud on a number of fronts. Another one, my contract had expired the day before that event, and so there was, some people in my shoes came up to me that night and said if I were in your shoes, I wouldn't be here. But in hindsight, I made the right decision and also walked away with a pretty good check. So in the end, Double J won that match.
Are you shocked to see what has happened to China in recent year or so?
Shocked. Let's rephrase it.
Stunned?
Well, is the glass half empty or half full? Yes, I am surprised. China came into the business with she was very successful. Her track record speaks for itself today, and that's on a good note and a bad note. So, yeah, I'm very, very surprised because I never really envisioned her. There's some guys in this business that when the red light is off, that you think that guy's a real whack job or that girl's a real, but you know, she's had obviously a rough road, so pretty amazing turn of events.
Next question.
Even for this business.
Even for this business. Okay, next question. Down at the end, Erwin? Well, now that we all know your name, what's the question?
How did you ever come up with slap nuts?
I didn't, he did. Oh, I thought you were talking to me. Okay.
Red Rubenstein right
How
there.
did you come up with slap nuts, that term?
Easy answer. My grandmother, Christine Jarrett, which Bill knew very well, that was my father's mother. She did everything in this business except referee or wrestle. She promoted, worked in the office, sold popcorn, helped set up chairs, never really the ring, but she did everything in this business. And as you know, in this business you run across a lot of wacky characters and a lot of know-it-alls. And a lot of people think they've been there and done that, but really have never participated in true success in this business. But she used to call people who ran their mouth, she would say, that guy knows more and more about less and less every day. She would call them slappies. But they just slapped their gums together, they just ran their mouth. So I added in the nuts and slap nuts. Mike Tenay was the first guy I ever said it to on TV, and here we have it 3 years later in TNA. And the slap nut is, the original slap nut is still around.
Okay, next question. Over here. Gentlemen. Come on down. And your name?
Randy from Brooklyn, Jeff. Great to see you. You're good. I've been following your career all my life in USWA, WWF, and WCW. Also, I gotta say, you was a great Intercontinental champion. I remember the match with Brady Ramon, Shawn Michaels.
7 times.
Yep, 7 times. Steve Blackman. Question, when you teamed up with Owen Hart, the late great Owen Hart, I remember you saying something that he was your great favorite tag team partner. What comes to your mind when you have one of your talents in this business? Because by watching wrestling, it's changed dramatically. You know, I've seen so many greats leave, like Chris Candido, Brian Pillman, Rick Rude. What comes to your mind when these talents are just gone and, you know, on the road? What's your thoughts?
So basically your thoughts on the unfortunate deaths that have taken place of so many of the young professionals in wrestling.
But each one of them is a different circumstance. Chris Candido, truly here tonight, that was very, very unfortunate. You know, a set of circumstances, he just got back on track. Owen is a guy who really completely different. He was one of the guys that not only never really got off track, he was sort of a guy that there was only one Owen. And you know, that takes in a lot of ground, but also to know the guy like I did, and you know, I said the day after it happened on Raw, you know, he was a real guy in a business that is so fabricated, and that's the one thing that set him apart from everybody. I've said before, if he wasn't in wrestling, if he was a banker, a lawyer, accountant, whatever he did, I think his peers in whatever industry he chose would have said the same thing. Just an unbelievable human being.
He was indeed a great guy. Which wrestler, when you heard that this wrestler died, other than Owen with that unfortunate accident, which one shocked you the most? Was there one death that you just couldn't believe?
Yeah, Kurt Hennig, without a doubt. Now that you know, I don't really like to reminisce about our brothers that passed away, but you know, just a spur of the moment, me thinking about it, I remember I was sitting in Cracker Barrel with Vince Russo, believe it or not, when we both got a call within maybe 5 minutes of each other. So yeah, and Kurt was, and I grew up around Kurt, and he came to the Memphis area when I was a teenager, so I remember him well before I started wrestling actively, and then obviously down the years that we worked together.
Okay, thank you. Next question. This gentleman right in the center here, your name and your question, please.
Hi, Jeff and Bart. Talk about life on the road. I hear about life on the road be kind of hard. Be away from your family with you.
Life on the road, difficult, family considered. There's also a lot of funny stories that come up on the road too, right?
Yes. It is the best of times and the worst of times. The worst of times, and as you go through the years, and now looking back, I've been wrestling 18 years. the young guys that come in that don't have wives or even girlfriends, and certainly not kids, you know, they're wide open 100% of the time. And as you go through the years, you can see the different stages and the things about the road. You know, you have to prepare yourself for it. A lot of guys get in and they're not prepared for it. And that's when the real tragic happens. You get out on the road because it's a lot of miles. You got to know how to handle yourself. I mean, just down to getting meals. You would think, oh, I'll run in this McDonald's here, and you know, you do that for 6 months in a row. You know, you are what you eat. I'm a firm believer in that. Not to get into any health talks, but I mean, you know, you bring yourself down, no sleep, not good food. So that's the travel part of not conditioning yourself and having discipline to go to the gym and eat good and all that kind of stuff. But then the best of times is that, you know, you really have a camaraderie among a certain group of individuals. You know, we all don't get along, it's pretty obviously, but wherever you guys work, I'm sure you can't stand some of the people you work with. That's just how it goes, and that's how it is. I mean, that's life. But you know, you learn to be professional and you learn to excel in spite of certain individuals or certain circumstances. But the road is something that, and it's evolved. When I got into business, based out of Nashville, still based out of Nashville, but we used to do about 2,500 miles a week in a car. You know, and some long haul truckers, they wouldn't believe it, but you know, you go from Nashville, you go to Memphis and back, and Louisville and back, and Evansville and back, and a small high school gymnasium, and then make the loop to TV. You know, real quick, you add up a lot of miles. So, you know, you spend, and this is before cell phones were the thing. You know, you spend a lot of hours in a car. You either learn to sing or learn to tell good jokes or amuse others in the car. That's one thing. And then when the business got on to making flights, you know, all over the country and literally all over the world, that's a whole nother set of circumstances that you got to be ready to deal with. So it has its good times and bad times. I mean, there's, you know, not many places that I would want to go, but because I've just got to see them. You know, I was in Jerusalem on Easter Sunday in 1994 with Owen, and that was a pretty unique experience. So there's some real good times down the road.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Do you miss your family while you're away on the road? Or is sometimes is the road so busy that, you know, you think of nothing else but what's going on?
It's part of it. It's just part of the business. You know, you say you absolutely miss them, but it's, you know, you sit around and dwell on it. You're wasting your time.
Next question, please. This young man right here. Dan, your name and your question?
My name is David, and Jeff, when is TNA Impact going back on TV?
Great question. Great question. You're on the hot seat.
Out of all the people in here, I can't ask that.
I know.
You want a super crowd. You know what? It goes without saying, I'm assuming most people in this room are either internet savvy or find out and sort of read the behind the scenes going on. We're in deep negotiations, and I really think that I hate to put a timeline, but an announcement will be made soon. So the definition of soon is all relative. You know, so it's going to be a very exciting time for TNA in the next couple of months, definitely. And I appreciate you asking the question.
Do you want to go head to head with WWE?
Not yet.
I think so. You know, TNA, from the beginning, we've had our critics big time, and every step of the way, it's like any other type of business. Those guys got a 40-year head start, 50-year head start. You know, we started from ground up 3 weeks ago this past Sunday, so we're making progress in every facet. To put a timeline on, going head to head, you know, I think that'd be hard to do, but absolutely, I truly think that it's really not just Jeff's opinion, or even the guys in this room, or girls in this room's opinion. The records absolutely speak for itself. When Nitro and Raw went head to head, the business couldn't have been more healthier. More people watching on TV, more people watching the live events, more pay-per-views sold, more dolls sold, more lunchboxes, more work as an industry overall, because, you know, I can remember in the height of that getting asked to go to small shows like this, and and me checking on what's going on here and there. And I mean, the business just thrives. So I'd be an idiot to sit up here and say I wouldn't want to go head to head, because I think only good things can happen, not just for TNA, but for the business. And I've got an attachment to this business that goes back 3 generations. So.
All right, next question. Right here. Your name and your question, please.
My name's Joe. I just have a question. Is there any truth to the fact that you walked out on Slammiversary pay-per-view because DC Carter didn't want to award you the NWA title again?
An inside political question.
That's one of the things that is so unique about this business, because I heard that on, I think Wednesday when I got in, I heard that story. When you really sit and analyze that, you almost have to pitch yourself, from my perspective, knowing not just the real story, but the real long-term story in the whole 9 yards. It really couldn't be further from the truth to know. But the essence of our business is really the reason you ask that question. No matter how you slice and dice it, the one thing that weighed on your mind right now was to ask that question. And that's part of the reason that everybody's here, is that our business is so unique, and sometimes the lines blur.
I mean, some of the things that they see on the internet aren't necessarily true. Come on now. Your name and your question.
My name's Mark. Jeff, who are some of the newer talents that you see really making it big in a few years, or that see a lot of talent in?
The stars of the future. Your predictions.
There you go. It depends on what you classify as new. I don't know. I mean, AJ Styles AJ Styles is a guy that we started 3 years ago, and he had a unique talent from the first time we saw him before TNA started, or as TNA was started. I mean, I don't know where you put Abyss on as far as his longevity, but that guy, he knows, if you want to call it art, a lot of people don't like to call it that anymore. He really knows some nuances in this business that I can tell you from experience, most guys never grasp. And Abyss has that. Monty Brown's another guy. Can talk better than most people would ever be able to talk. And his in-ring ability, he's a great athlete. He just, Abyss went to Puerto Rico and wrestled 4 or 5 nights a week for 12 or 13, 14 months, something like that. You add that up, that you can't replace that experience. Monty, coming from a football background and where he's at, he'll never, and I'll call it a luxury, Abyss won't, but he does now looking back on it, he'll never have that luxury. So AJ, Abyss, Monty, I'll put those 3 guys for their level, years of experience in this business. I'll put those 3 against anybody. I mean anybody out there in any organization. As far as, and when I'm rolling into a talent, just doesn't have to be with in-ring work. It's the amount of tickets you can sell. And those 3 guys, I'll put match them against anybody.
Who's your top young talent guy? You have one?
Not young, but low-key, Daniel.
Low-key, Daniels. Okay. Next question, please. That guy right over there. You want to ask a question? You have one? Okay. Go ahead.
My name is Aiden. My question is, yeah.
What was your profession before you became a professional wrestler? I don't even know that. Was there a McDonald's in there somewhere?
Guitar player.
Well, I started wrestling. I refereed the summers when I was 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade. Then I had this crazy idea that I really dug into, wanted to play basketball. And it took me a little while to figure out I was the wrong color and not tall enough, and couldn't jump high enough. Basketball is something that I really want to play. 1 year college ball, but I worked in the wrestling business doing it. Just you name it. When I see a guy setting up a ring out there and they're all pissed off at themselves for having to do that hot, sweaty work, I get a little warm feeling in my stomach and say, better him than me now.
You just hit a real sore point, at least with me and maybe with some of these people. It used to be when you broke into this business, you paid your dues. You went on the road, you wrestled 7 nights a week, you put the ring up, you worked at the concession, you did everything. Today, we get a contract for Tough Enough, and we're a star. What's your reaction to the way people get into the business today?
It's like any other business. You'll get it's our society. You can't blame the wrestling business because in any form of business, there's fast tracks for everybody. But in this business, if you do not learn your trade or craft or whatever, if you don't learn the basics and really learn it, I don't know of one that has lasted. I really don't believe it's possible. I believe there's some people that can make a ton of money and get in and get out. But the reason they got out isn't really because they wanted to get out. It's because their talent was no longer, they couldn't pull them aside over the audience anymore.
Okay, next question, please. This young man right over here with the Cyberspace Wrestling Federation t-shirt. Yes.
My name's Zach, and will you do any more acting like you did on the TV show?
The Blue Collar Show?
Yep.
Blue Collar. Jeff Foxworthy and Double J, Jeff Jarrett. You might be a redneck if...
I'd love to. Those guys contacted me, and that sort of came out of nowhere. They called with a script and said, can you do it? And I said, no problem. And I went out there and hung out with those guys a day or two. And the next thing you know, they've got another 2-day part written in. And wrestling and comedy, I really never thought mixed as far as that. But it did. And that show, those guys, you're too young to know, but the adults in here, the numbers those guys are doing financially is incredible. That's all for redneck humor. So I'd love to do it. I've always had a good time doing that kind of stuff.
Great exposure for TNA by doing that as well, which is a great reason for doing that besides just going out and entertaining. Next question, this gentleman with the, are you Russian? You look like a Russian bad guy wrestler here. Stand up, please. Your name? Peter.
What I want to know, from WWE, WCW, and now TNA, who was your favorite person to wrestle and what was your most memorable matches?
Great question. I hear the computer running in your brain there. There's so many matches.
I don't know. Let's just take it off the top of my head for the 3 organizations. Okay. WWE, me and Shawn Michaels had a series of matches in '95 that sort of segued into matches against Scott Hall. That era was fun. I had a blast for personal reasons, keeping with Owen Hart. WCW, the first time I won the WCW World Title. Actually, me and Diamond Dallas Page, and you know, we're getting right down to personal as far as series of matches or a match. Me and DDP had a couple of house show matches that were, we sort of had the burden on our back and had to go out and go 30 or 35 minutes. And then TNA, I can remember the first singles match I had with AJ. I had a real good time. I had a TV match with Monty Brown that people didn't have a lot of confidence in, and I thought that turned out all right. And the King of the Mountain match last year at the anniversary show for a couple of different reasons. It's hard to do it first, and that concept was well received. So.
China didn't make the list, huh?
Good housekeeping match.
We have time for how many more questions? 2 more questions. This young lady right over here. Your name and question?
My name is Ashley Newber, and my question is, how many titles have you held from your 18-year career in general?
Bill, you answer.
I can't give the answer to that. A lot. USWA titles, NWA titles. I couldn't even guess.
Give me a number.
And currently the Cyberspace World Heavyweight Championship. Give her a number off the top of your head. What do you figure? Just a guess. I don't know. No, we don't know. What's the one title you held that maybe none of us know about? Was there a small was there in wrestling we're talking about?
I don't know. Gosh, I don't know. I don't know a number. I really don't. I don't know.
We can't give you a number.
Sorry.
Write to me at onewrestling.com and I'll find out.
It's there.
Okay.
It's actually there.
It is?
Yes.
Okay, we'll find it and we'll get it to you. Last question, right over there. I'll be keeping you awake, sir.
No. I'm enjoying this.
I just want to know, without any TV exposure, do you think the TNA buy rates will go down maybe? And do you think Monty Brown will stay in TNA?
When you see somebody like Monty Brown, do you figure that WWE's going after somebody like that?
What did you ask?
When you see someone like Monty Brown, that's one of your questions, right? How will he stay in TNA, or do you feel that there could be an aggressive move by WWE to sign someone like him?
Well, I have first-hand knowledge that the competition is after a bunch of our pieces of talent, but that's never going to change. That's the nature of our beast. To say that the buy rates, let me ask you this. What is, from a company standpoint, what is the reason for having television if it doesn't increase buy rates? So, sort of by default, for every pay-per-view you do without television, the natural train of thought would be it's not going to be as good. But from and that's to everybody's, to all of our critics' defense, it's impossible for them to make accurate judgments when they really don't know the 5-year and the 7-year and the 10-year plan. It doesn't make any sense to the guy on the sideline who says, what the hell are they running a pay-per-view without TV? It is a madness, but we definitely do have a method to it. So that's just how our business is, and it's not a perfect world, and Vince can tell you that from his situation. So, and as far as Monty, yes, I think he'll be in TNA.
And before we let you go, I just want to let everyone know the raffle that we had to have Jeff Jarrett break a guitar over someone's head tonight in the audience has been canceled. I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, the Cyberspace Heavyweight Champion of the World,